Joe has said a number of things that have really pissed people off. You know, whether or not it was the comments that he made about, well, black people didn't, you know, create hip hop. It was actually black people and Puerto Rican people. It was interesting. That was the first time that I had ever heard that. My whole life, when I was growing up, it was black people that created hip hop. It's interesting how all of a sudden now this narrative is changing. But he says things that piss people off. And recently he said something else that is pissing people off. And I want to bring up this clip here. Thank you, author. He said that delineation is hurting his pockets. So we're going to play this clip here fully once, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to pause in between because there's something that happened during this clip that I think a lot of people are not talking about on social media. Let's get into it.
These rumors were made by radical black racists. Let's just say that. Okay, it's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them. Right. So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the fuck these broke niggas is. I'm just keeping it a buck. And their shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, you know, your leader? Yo, man, you got to be fucking kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling a whole nother story. This was whoopity doop wop. Yo, bro.
Couple things. And Nikki World already called it out. Radical. Don't forget Fat Joe supported Kamala. Radical black racists is what he called them. Radical. Right. So a couple of things. This first part.
These rumors were made by radical black racists. Let's just say that. Okay, it's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them. Right.
So he's talking about FBA, Foundational Black Americans, which is not an organization, but it is a lineage, a status, right? So that's who he's talking about. Now, this is coming off of the conversation about who created hip hop. So just to explain that once again, like I said, when I grew up and the way that I grew up and I was raised, you know, I was taught that Black Americans created hip hop. I had never heard this story that is coming around the way that Fat Joe and some others are saying, no, it was Black Americans and it was also Puerto Ricans that created hip hop. I don't know where this came from, but I was never taught this. So part of his anger is directed towards that because he received pushback when he made that statement. And you can say that you disagree. If he doesn't agree with FBA, that's fine. He can disagree. But Fat Joe's, his attitude and just how comfortable he is with the way that he talks to the Black community is very problematic for me. Fat Joe's not Black. For people who are not aware, Fat Joe's a rapper. He was buddy, like I think it was him and Big Pun and all that stuff back in the 90s. I haven't heard a Fat Joe song recently in probably a long time. But it's very clear to me that I think Fat Joe has become a little bit too comfortable. So this part.
Right. So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't Black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
The FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the fuck these broke niggas is.
That part right there. So again, he doesn't have to agree with FBA. I'm not here to say he can't respond. But this part right here really struck me with a chord. First of all, listen up, Joe. You have become very rich off of appropriating Black culture. That's your career. That's Fat Joe's career. You became very rich off of that. And I know people will come to me and say, oh, well, he grew up in a neighborhood with Black people and da-da-da and all that kind of stuff. So? And? I don't care. That part right there, when he said broke, they're a bunch of broke. First of all, how does he know that they're broke? And even if they are broke, so what? Why is class being brought into this now? So if you're broke, you can't have criticism? If you're broke, you can't criticize? Everybody see why I have a problem with a lot of these celebrities? Even the ones that say, oh yeah, we're cool, we're down with the cause or the action and da-da-da. This is why I have a problem with a lot of these celebrities. Because they'll say those things, and in the moment, things don't go their way, or you push back against them. Next thing you know, you're broke. So what? They show you who they really are. So he's like, just a bunch of broke. So that's classism. This part.
I'm just keeping it a buck. And that shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, you know, your leader? Yo, man, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling a whole nother story. This was whoopity doop wop. Yo, bro. These rumors.
The other thing. Why does Fat Joe feel so comfortable just using the N-word? And I know people are going to say, oh, well, Sabs, it's not with the E-R, it's with the A at the end. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. Fat Joe's not Black. I remember when Jay-Z was on Oprah's show. This is probably one of the only things I agree with Oprah on. And that was the use of the N-word. And Jay-Z told Oprah, he said, well, we changed the word and put an A at the end of it to take the power back from the word. Okay. What other group uses a racial slur as a term of endearment? Because you see, I never liked the N-word. I still don't like it. I'm Black and I don't call people the N-word. But you got Fat Joe out here just throwing out the N-word in front of another Black guy. He's a part of the hip hop industry. And I always ask, like, how come nobody in hip hop, why aren't they checking him on this? Why y'all let Fat Joe just casually just use the word over and over? And people say, you don't understand, in New York it's like this. In New York, it's like that. I lived in New York. And I'll tell you, none of my friends that are not Black use the N-word or feel that they could use the N-word even with an A. The reason why Fat Joe feels so comfortable is because he's been allowed to be comfortable. Nobody in his space pushing back on him for the rhetoric and the things that he's using. Now, fans have said they had a problem with it. I'll show you that in just a second. Fans have said to Fat Joe, stop using the N-word. You're not Black. He doubled down. I want to show you that right here. He doubled down. This is the thing that I think a lot of people aren't seeing with this. I mean, he's a little too comfortable. Fat Joe responds to criticism of his use of the N-word. See? This was 2022. It's not like this wasn't an issue before. And he went on to say, They said that Fat Joe, who is of Puerto Rican descent, is under scrutiny once again. The South Bronx rapper says that he will continue to say the N-word despite some fans asking him not to. So I'm going to say this again. So after there were people from the Black community that were his fans that asked him to stop using the word, he doubled down and said he's going to continue to use it. Was that Fat Joe having respect for the Black community? Why aren't any of the other rappers around him in hip hop, why aren't they pushed back on that? He got too comfortable. It went on to say here, first of all, my projects is 90%. I'll give you 80% Black still. My grandmother's projects is 99.9% Black, to be clear. So I'm Spanish. I knew I was Latino, but the whole time I thought I was Black anyway. Pause. He knew he was Latino, but the whole time he thought he was Black anyway. No, that's bullshit. So I've always had a problem with that. And that's not going to change. Because let me tell you what Fat Joe can do. You see, when Fat Joe wants to, while he's just throwing around the N-word and all that kind of stuff, I don't care if it's New York or not. I got a problem with it. I'm Black. I don't use the N-word. My parents don't use the N-word. I wasn't raised that way, and I would definitely not raise my children that way. As I said before, no other racial group uses the racial slur as a term of endearment. So my issue with Fat Joe is that when he wants to put that aside, he can. If he's filling out a form and he wants to check white, he can. This is what a lot of people don't understand. And I've seen this happen. And I've had classmates that have explained this to me very specifically. These are the items that are on the list of the form. If I want to, yeah, well, sometimes I check white, sometimes I check this. The struggle is not the same. And people will say, well, he's Puerto Rican and Puerto Ricans are mixed, but he can still check white. So he can disagree with what FBA says. He can disagree. This is not to say that you can't disagree with people. But I have had issue with Fat Joe for quite some time because I feel like he got a little too comfortable. And I think that he does not have respect for the Black community. I don't give a damn where you grew up. You should still have respect for the people. And when the people were pushing back on you and asking you to stop saying it, you double down and say you're still going to say it. People can disagree or whatever it is, but that should have never happened. And Black people, I'm saying this to you, this whole let's let other people use this word as slang, that should have never happened. Always felt that way, have said that from day one. There is a white commentator in this space who was using that word for quite some time. And it wasn't until people pushed back on him and he finally said, oh, I realize, I shouldn't be doing that. Duh. So I wouldn't say anything differently about him as I am about Fat Joe. Same situation. That should have never happened. So Fat Joe got comfortable and Fat Joe thinks he can just say this kind of thing. And back to the class issue, the poor part. I got a problem with that too. Why you had to throw that in there? You don't even know if they're poor, but he threw it in because he knew it's a derogatory thing. That's a class issue. Now, he grew up in the projects, but he's slamming people for being poor. Excuse me? Oh, you're not poor no more. What'd I tell you? People always tell me, I grew up poor. I grew up in the, you're not poor no more, damn it. So I think that this is what happens when we allow some people to get too comfortable. And I think Fat Joe got too comfortable. And like I said, even if he disagrees with what FBA is saying, that's one thing. But the disrespect that I've seen with his remarks as well, he's not innocent in all this. I saw the back and forth online. He's not innocent in all this. I think we have to get to a point where we stop reaching out to celebrities. I personally, have I had any? I don't think I have. Stop reaching out to celebrities. I don't know what it is. I really don't know why people, I don't know why people think they're going to get through to celebrities, especially online. You're not. Fat Joe's going to do what helps his pocket and his brand. So that's something to think about. But the way I see this, I just think he got too comfortable. And this isn't the only one. This is the first time I'm talking about it, but I've seen multiple things. Multiple things. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is just da-da-da. I don't know. What do you say, Scott? You said Susan Sarandon gets a pass from you. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't. I don't put any type of hope in celebrities. And they'll change on you. They'll change up on you at a dime. And then people get disappointed. But yeah. So that's my take on that. I think some people are getting way, I don't know. Just fuck Fat Joe. Just get it. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.